Fire used to be dangerous, expensive and, well, sometimes impossible. Yet people still boiled water, cooked food, and managed to stay alive without keeping flames burning all day long. That wasn't magic. It was a trick so effective it quietly powered human survival for thousands of years. This story starts with a problem every ancient community faced. Fire was precious. It took time to start, skill to control, and fuel that was not always available. In cold, wet, or windy conditions, fire could disappear in just minutes. In forests, it could kill you. In deserts, it could expose you. And in many places, open flames inside shelters were a serious risk. So people asked a simple question. How do you boil water when fire itself is the weak link? The answer changed cooking, travel, and survival. And once you understand it, you realize fire was never the star of the process. Heat was. The trick was stone boiling. It sounds basic, but you know it was a quiet technological leap. Instead of placing food over a flame, people heated stones in a fire and then dropped those stones into water, broth or food held in containers that would never survive direct fire. Here's the key insight. Fire creates heat, but stone stores it. A hot rock becomes a portable battery of thermal energy. Once heated, it keeps working long after the flames are gone. This allowed boiling without pots made of metal. Wood, bark, leather, animal hide, even tightly woven baskets could suddenly become cooking vessels. As long as the container held water, the heat from the stones transferred safely into the liquid. No burning, no melting, just steady, controllable heat. Archaeological evidence shows stone boiling was used across the world. Indigenous communities in North America relied on it extensively. It appears in ancient Europe, parts of Africa, Asia, and Australia. This was not a niche trick. It was global survival knowledge. And it worked because, well, water is the great equalizer. As long as there is liquid, the container stays below boiling temperature. The stones do all the heavy lifting. This is where things get clever. You didn't need a constant fire. You needed a short, intense one. Stones were heated once, sometimes for less than an hour, then carried to the cooking site. From that point on, fire could go out completely. More stones could be rotated in if needed, but the cooking itself happened away from flame. Inside shelters, in windy conditions, in places where smoke would give away your position. That meant cooking could happen at night without light. It meant boiling water during rainstorms. It meant preparing food in environments where open flame was dangerous or forbidden. For nomadic groups, this was huge. You could heat stones at a communal fire, then take them back to individual camps. One fire served many meals. Fuel use dropped dramatically. Risk dropped with it. You know, fire stopped being a constant dependency and became more of a temporary tool. One of the most misunderstood parts of ancient survival is the idea that people needed metal pots to boil water. But actually, they didn't. Animal hides were sewn into bags and filled with water. Heated stones were added slowly, and the water absorbed the heat. The hide, well, it never burned. Wooden bowls were hollowed out and used the same way. Bark containers were folded and sealed with resin. Even basketry could hold boiling water as long as it stayed wet. This meant cooking technology advanced long before metallurgy. Stews, soups, rendered fats, medicinal brews, and sterilized water were possible thousands of years earlier than most people realize. Boiling wasn't just about food, it was about safety. Boiled water reduced disease. Boiled bones released nutrients. Boiled plants neutralized toxins. This single technique expanded the human diet dramatically. And it did it without constant fire. Here's the part modern kitchens don't teach. Stone boiling gave precise temperature control. Add 1 stone, the water warms. Add 3, it boils. Remove stones, it cools. Crack a stone, and you learn quickly which rocks store heat well and which explode. River stones, basalt, granite, and dense volcanic rock worked best. Porous stones were avoided. This wasn't guesswork. It was tested survival science, refined over generations. The result was a cooking system that scaled. Large communal meals, small personal portions, long simmering stews, quick water purification, all without needing to tend a flame. Fire became background infrastructure, not the main event. Stone boiling had another advantage that rarely gets mentioned: stealth. Open flames produce light and smoke. Both travel far. In hunting, warfare, or evasion, that could be deadly. Heated stones produce neither. You could cook inside a shelter with no visible fire. You could boil water underground. You could prepare food in bad weather when fires were unreliable. This mattered a lot. In colder climates, stone boiling paired with insulated containers allowed heat retention for hours. Some groups combined this with early versions of thermal insulation, burying containers in ash, soil, or organic material to slow cooling. Food stayed hot long after the stones cooled. At that point, you're no longer cooking. You're managing stored energy. Once metal pots became widespread, stone boiling slowly disappeared. Metal made direct fire easier and faster. Fuel became more accessible. Urban living reduced the need for stealth and mobility. But the skill never vanished entirely. Variations survived in haybox cooking, earth ovens, and modern thermal cooking methods. The principle is the same. Heat once, trap it, let physics do the work. Today we reinvent this idea with insulated flasks, slow cookers, and vacuum pots. We call it efficiency. Ancient people called it common sense. You know, they understood something that, well, modern survivalists often forget. Fire is fragile. Heat is not. This isn't just history. If you can heat stones, you can boil water without metal. And if you can boil water, honestly, you can survive longer than someone who can't. In emergencies, fuel conservation matters. So does fire safety. Stone boiling works with minimal resources. You know, it works even when cookware is gone. It works when firewood is scarce. And it works when exposure is a risk. It also forces patience and planning. These are skills that kept people alive long before convenience replaced competence. The ancient boiling trick didn't replace fire. Instead, it freed people from depending on it every minute. And honestly, that freedom changed everything. If you want to understand survival, really understand it, study the moments when humans stopped fighting nature and started cooperating with it. This is one of those moments. If this kind of forgotten knowledge matters to you, stay with us. Like the video, share it with someone who appreciates real skills, and subscribe to Legacy of Survival for more stories like this. Because the past still has lessons we haven't finished learning.